welcome everyone on all the channels and everyone who's listening. And at the same time, today is the first time we present a workshop as the original team of knowledge seekers from Italy. We promised for a long time and we could not achieve it in Belgium. It has taken us more or less exactly to the week in 1 year to establish and set up the institute to teach to every man on this planet the technology that our goal to share knowledge freely can be achieved. We released patents, we informed the governments, and now we are teaching what we call the teachers of the next generation. The knowledge seekers around this table have enough within them to translate and start teaching in the coming months to those who want to learn. The procedure we have put in motion is that knowledge seekers, they can introduce themselves very soon if they want to. And from day one, we have not held back anything to them or from them. So much so that literally any technology, more or less, that we could remember up to today in the past 2 weeks has been shown. All systems have been displayed or been given to them to see. And they have already started producing the first batch of materials to be shipped to Fukushima. So, Yukoko in the Fukushima workshop of last month has received some collaboration or some requests from Japanese people and organizations that they have received some materials Yukoko can explain. And now we are developing the nanomaterial we think is correct to be shipped to Japan to be tested by them independently. The whole purpose of this workshop is when we showed the material about Fukushima last time, how to produce it, a lot of people wanted the proof of concept, or if this is real, or how is it possible to produce nanomaterials so easily. In the documents being released today and is in the process of being uploaded on the internet, we show that we have been in possession of papers, research papers, which has been done by leading institutes around the world on these materials which we have given to them to verify and test. And these confidential reports, which we've been forced to keep away from public, now from today are in the public domain, which means there is no restriction for us to release any paper publicly, because as of now that the Keshe Foundation belongs to the world population, any contracts signed as the non-disclosure in respect to these researchers, it belongs to every man on this planet. So we are all keeping a confidentiality with it. We won't talk to each other, but we can read it on the internet. So what has been forced deliberately by certain people to be kept away from public in so many ways to discredit and rob the foundation of the information and technology for the World Peace Treaty, now we are releasing. What this means is that we have been in possession of report done by a leading nanotechnology organization in the world, confirming the detection of SP2 and SP3, this is nano layers as far back as 2006. This report written is released in its totality. And this is a copy report because the original report is totally different, plus addition to what we have released, confirming that SP2 and SP3 is produced in such a simple way on the electrodes you see in the Coca-Cola bottle demonstration. What has happened is that the institute which the electrodes were given to test at the time in 2006 considered and made an allegation to that we use plutonium and uranium and gamma sources to be able to produce SP2 and SP3 in open space as the way we have shown. And they used this false accusation because of their own lack of understanding, at the same time trying to steal the technology to keep us from releasing the information through all sorts of threats. Today we are releasing the full package of this report. And in reality, once it's loaded, you will read it. The report written by the leading nanotechnology group in the world, released on the 6th of July 2006, reads in a simple one of its paragraphs: we observe a spectrum that corresponds very well to one of ACH or one of glossy carbon, but with B implantation, i.e. with many defects. Following Yoshikawa, this indicates the presence of sp2 carbon clusters on the sample. So in July 2006, we already knew we can produce nanomaterials at zero cost, but we were back down not disclosed because of certain personal interests which we will disclose. And in the same report, we knew it verbally now, but it had to be written in a different way. It reads, if there would be SP3, we would expect a sharp peak near 1343 centimeter. That's in the graph. This is not the case. However, we cannot exclude the possible presence of SP3. Its spectrum might be covered by the 4 SP2 defect line. But we were told prior to writing this report by the scientist who did the report, she has found SP3 indication, but she cannot explain it. So what we talk about nanomaterials and GANs, which is the gases in nano state, was achieved and was developed fully by the foundation in 2006, independent testing by an organization known as IMEC, IMEC, the leading nanotechnology organization in the world. And we have posted the reports, which says IMEC confidential. It is confidential, but as the foundation is owned by the world population, please keep it to yourselves and don't talk about it to somebody else. This is what is going to be. We'll explain these releases. So what we released as a Fukushima program, last workshop, to be able to decontaminate with a technology by other scientists around the world that nanomaterials can absorb or can separate the radioactive materials, has already been confirmed nearly 8 years ago for the foundation. But we could not disclose it because of the threats which was made by the company, IMEC, and its lawyers, which will disclose the details on the internet, to gag us because of their own private interests. At the same time, in another report done by the Belgian Nuclear SCK, you can see the confirmation of the absorption of the carbon on these electrodes by independent investigation and testing of the SCK, Belgium Nuclear Center, the same electrode the following year financed by the Belgian government. The interesting point is that if our technology and the production of SP2, SP3 in the report done by IMEC was so bad and incorrect, how come the following year the nuclear center and the Belgian government for the second time want to test this material independently and spend 3 months and a couple of million euros in developing it or testing it? So it's not the conspiracy theory. This will show how a couple of people within the structure of the Belgian government and the nation of Belgium are holding the rest of the nation to ransom for their own private and sexual behavior. This will disclose very soon. I think their coalescence is there to support what we say with names and not. It is important, it's absolutely vitally important that the technology, like what we are releasing, stays free for mankind and not to be controlled by some. And if you don't comply, they try to do all sorts of things to you that they force you to do so. Today, we release documents. These documents is done by the knowledge seekers independently, and in fact, we put the case and the documents to them early this last week or late last week for them to see they are not here to waste their time and work in a dream. The technology has been well tested and proven within the Belgian government, and more, as they found out the more they can do, the more they try to rob and threat. We have disclosed the name of the people who made the threats. And we have released in these documents, once you read it, the name of the organizations who are leading institute within the European space program, which in their report or in their emails confirmed are prepared after examination to invest between 300 to 500,000 euro of their own money because they know the technology can be correct and can be developed. And this is done in 2005. We're going back nearly 10 years. We kept silence very much out of the fear of assassination by this gentleman. It's called Mr. Hans Brackenier. Mr. Hans Brackenier, he is known within the political structure of Belgium to have ordered and organized murder of a number of scientists, or has pushed scientists to leave Belgium if they would not hand over the technology to him. He is or was at the time the lawyer of IMEC, which has done the independent research on SP2, SP3. Werhard, a space program research technology, which we have released their emails to confirm. He's been at the same time the lawyer of IWT, which is the Flemish Institute for Financing Research. At the same time, he is the lawyer of WITO, which is the nuclear section of the Belgian structure. And now this criminal has made his way to become part of the European Space Agency directorship, which means now not only me who's been threatened to be killed, and he has been told by the police organizations and politicians within Belgium that he has caused the death of a number of scientists. He has found his way to European Space Agency. Now we start seeing assassination of number of scientists around the European if they do not give the technology to him freely to be benefited by it. I do not see, because I have a witness and we have put it there, Mr. Hans Brackenier to be head of the space agency, European Space Agency, when he has criminal records, even within the courts of Belgium. What he does, because of his closeness to this apparatus of the government, he has been given a special police force within the federal police to carry out assassination and forcing and pressurizing scientists to give their technology to him. If you go on the company list of the Belgium and some other foreign countries, you see Mr. Hans Brackenier to be directors of a number of the companies with the leading technologies in space and energy. 90% of this is not done voluntarily. He has forced the scientists to hand over their life work. And if they don't do like me, openly on the paper, on the table, he accuses others to or will assassinate you. We have put his name down with 3 witnesses on the table when he's made these threats. And the whole problem with the Keshe Foundation started, had to literally hide everything, when Mr. Hans Brackenier, who is, he calls himself the gatekeeper of the ex-king of the Belgium. I do not know if he's still a gatekeeper for the present king, to disclose and to threaten us, and he uses a national security to disguise his criminal activities. As a scientist who's been threatened by him, I request, if you are anywhere in the world, and from United Nations and Interpol, to investigate the criminal activities of this man. He's an animal, not a scientist, and he's not a man. And I would like you to approach anybody you can, European Space Agency, for opening the criminal records on this man. He should not be heading and be part of the head of European Space Agency. Because now he's found his way to kill and maim and force scientists to give technologies to him. He has an organization as a consultancy, we have disclosed in Belgium, that people go to him to consult how to develop technologies, and he uses this company as a honeypot to get access to technologies to get what he wants. So in this workshop, we have to know why a lot of us are suffering with Fukushima situation, where the technology was well known for past 10 years and in our hand and in the position of mankind. So what I ask, not only as an individual, but as a man of science, for the arrest of Mr. Hans Brackenier for carrying out murders, organizing and carrying out threats and harassing scientists around Belgium and in Europe. This point has been put a few times through the Belgian parliament, but it's been blocked because most of the politicians in Belgium know of this activity of this man, but they're afraid of his threats and what he has done or he can do to their families and themselves. So out of Belgium, we open the book. I put my request to you. If you're a press person, go and check this man out. He's a criminal and he has to be taken out of the cycle of the advanced technology that people like me and other scientists like me, and even like Dirk Oressens, and even like other scientists who we know, Dirk Oressens is online, can tell you that they've been harassed by just going to IMEC for development or going to different companies, that they end up on the back of the Mr. Hans Brackenier. And we know, they can tell you there is a scientist who's given his black box for energy production, and I do not know if he's still alive. He had a cancer, and he never saw his technology through. So we have, as world population, as people of this planet, which working for the betterment of all of us at the same time, like being to able to distribute this technology freely the way we did with Fukushima, not to be strangled and to be stopped by people like Hans Brackenier and the police force of Belgium who are embedded to support him. We released the name of the police officer who's a leading organizer for carrying assassination His name is Mr. Delanois. This is not the first time I release his name. In one of my original releases, I released his name. He's the gentleman who arranged and has been present in 2 of the assassination attempts against my life. He's a criminal. He's based in the police station as a federal police with the support of a fraudulent prosecutor in Kortrijk district of Belgium. But in fact, he supervises all the assassination and all the extortion through the police force of Belgium. He is a rogue officer. We've been told by other federal police officers who are investigating other murders that they know him as a criminal officer. His name is Delanois. He's based in the federal police of Belgium. He has made 2 direct attempts to kill me personally, and he is present when assassination attempts are carried out. This was the reason, that's why we left Belgium the last time he was present as a team of 8 people to assassinate, create a condition that it looked like an accident. And the day before, the man who was to carry out assassination as a police officer attended my house with a hat on his head. We know all his identities. You do not go into a man's house as a police officer and keep your American cowboy hat on your head. And all the time when you're present in the meeting. We got him profile read by our security, and his name came out as assassinator. And the following day, he attended the president in my house with Mr. Delanois. After I wasn't home, Mr. Delanois running out of the street, and he's been video cameraed. So I asked for Interpol and United Nations for the arrest of these 2 gentlemen for assassination, planting assassination, and creating false position for scientists to release their technology. Mr. Delanois now is on the 2nd track in Belgium to discredit, and now he has started threatening the supporters of Keshe Foundation in Belgium that if they do not collaborate, he'll organize their arrest. I request from the federal police and Interpol, and in fact, I request from the Court of Den Haag for the arrest of these 2 people, as they cannot be touched in Belgium. They are protected. And the protection is done by the King of Belgium. They benefit from these terrorist activities goes directly to the house of the king, the last king who resigned. This present king we cannot touch, and we never talk wrong about him. We have nothing to do with him. But the last king has been involved in a number of criminal activities, which is always he has claimed immunity from any critical and criminal cases as he's the king. King of Belgium has files within the French police force, and he is claiming immunity continuously not to be prosecuted. And Mr. Hans-Brecquedier and legal advisors like him are keeping out of the reach of the law. One of the reasons the King of Belgium abdicated last year, the Belgian people can tell you, was because he had to give a blood test through a court proceeding because there is a girl in London who claims to be his daughter. And the blood test had to be given, and the courts were forcing for this blood test, or they were trying to get the order through a court that the king gives a blood test to confirm the girl is his daughter. And he preferred to abdicate and give the blood. So we have a new king. But the reason for this abdication, in fact, is that there are so many sexual behavior, child abuse, murder of children by the King of Belgium, which are pending for a blood test for years, and this would have opened the Pandora box to open the behavior. So he preferred to abdicate, but not giving the blood test, because this test would have been used in the criminal cases, which are pending and go nowhere till they have a blood sample. So the country has lost the king through rape of children, murder of children, and he claims protection. The same as we are opening the conditions for a World Peace Treaty, The people who see and the people who use these positions, like Mr. Hans Brackenier, using the weakness of the king, just in case if anything happens, he's got an insurance policy. As of today, his insurance policy is expired. We request as a people, if you're French, if you're Spanish, if you're British, if you're American, if you're from Northern Africa, Arabic speaking, the 2 children which were missing in Belgium some 10 years ago, and their bodies found raped, young girls, which were returned back to Morocco, all these are the murders carried out by the king and nobody can touch. I'm prepared to go to prison. I'm prepared to stand the sentence by death if my case is wrong. The Court of Justice was not made for the African leaders and the people who they do not suit the other countries. The Hague Court has to be just. And we request for the arrest of the King of Belgium. And if he's innocent, he can show his case. He is as much guilty of child abuse as was Saddam or African leaders who are standing trial in The Hague. This is not accusation. There are politicians, and I request the French president, His Excellency, to open the cases of the French children which is gone missing, and the court cases are sitting for this king. He is not a king. If a father rapes his child, he is put into prison. King is the father of a nation. There should be no difference as a man. He resigned the kingship not for the girl to accept that he has a descendant. He should not be ashamed. A lot of kings have offsprings. The reason the blood test was not given, and he preferred to abdicate, most probably with the advice of Mr. Hans Brackenier, was these tests would have allowed the cases, court cases pending around the world against his murdering, raping children under the age of 10, 12 years old to be opened up. Now, as Keshe Foundation belongs to the world population, we demand and we request The Hague Court of Justice for the arrest of these 3 people and the people within the Belgian structure who are protecting them. The king and the layman should be judged equally for their behavior, and there is no difference. I cannot go any further. We are prepared to disclose. I have Mr. Dirk Lorentzens, who's a Belgian. He's a brother to me. We've worked closely together for nearly 10 years. He can tell us in the meetings where the leading Belgian politicians have told us that they are aware and they know of the criminal activities of Mr. Hans Brackenier. There has been a question mark for a long time. How come IMAC is the cause of scientists leaving Belgium? Now we know. Mr. Hans Brackenier. He sits and he's positioned himself in the leading scientific organizations in Belgium, and now he's brought himself to international level in the European Space Agency to literally benefit his pocket and the people who support him. He should not be ahead of and in the European Space Agency, because now we start seeing German scientists disappearing, French scientists disappearing, Dutch, God knows, any nationality which he cannot get the technology, which is literally obsolete. With the new space technology which we have released, the present European Space Agency is obsolete. In the past 2 weeks, the knowledge seekers are with us. We have given and put all the reactors available to us openly on the table to them. And there is nothing hidden. They have seen the simplicity of the technology. They have seen how they can do simple things, and they've been asked within the next 30 days, within the month of March, to achieve the first lift. You've seen how we produce material for nanotechnology. It's the same simplicity with space technology. When you see the documents we released today, it's going to go on every language on this planet, is that, for example, on the 25th of November, when the federal police came to my lab and they seized and locked up my material and left it to me, there was strange things happening. This was to discredit the Keshe Foundation on the 26th of November, the following day in Eindhoven. But we did not disclose. We disclosed for the first time in these documents. The following Monday, 48 hours after Eindhoven, the Federal Police of Belgium at high speed tried to roll over my car on the motorway between Ghent and Antwerp. That was the first open assassination on my life, organized by Mr. Hans Brackenier, because all these systems are made by IMEC. They have made IMEC as a terrorist organization threatening scientists in the front of the advanced nanotechnology in the world. If you are a scientist in IMEC from Korea or any part of the world, be aware you are not safe as long as Mr. Hans Brackenier and people in that organization are there. You are good there as long as you can give them the technology, and you have to go and backtrack how many of you have disappeared. My arrest in Canada, 11 days incarceration, was not done accidentally, was well organized and orchestrated through IMEC. We can submit documents. We did not talk, but now we open the book, there is no limitation. I go back again. I request, if you are listening to this program on any nationality, write to your government, write to United Nations, send an email, a Spaceship Institute at gmail.com. We collect the documents and we forward it to the authorities. I do not think I received a fair hearing in Den Haag because the tentacles of these criminals reaches too far. These criminals have been judged in the courts in China or in Tehran. I'm a Iranian citizen. I demand my justice in my country. Then I'll get a fair hearing and fair justice, because in Den Haag a lot will be covered. I put a very direct question to His Excellency President Obama. If King of Belgium is so safe, why none of the American presidents have ever met him with their families in open? If you go to newspapers between 15 to 18, 19th of January 2012, the top 4 newspapers in Belgium, there is a 4-page article, which in this 4-page tells you that different kings and royalties in Europe have had so many public meetings in the year before. Like Queen of England has something like 50, 60 public presentation meeting. Dutch Queen in the same kind of region. King of Belgium, numbers 2. This means the whole royal family in Europe are aware of his behavior, and they want to meet him with their children and their family. This is not allegation. This open. Go to the Belgian press between 15th and 20th of January 2012. It's a 4-page document. Why a king of this country, which is the center of Europe, Brussels, Belgium, has only need and been seen in public twice because of his criminality. World leaders are aware of his work, but to keep the European Union together, the rest of the European nations and the world are paying for it with the lives of their daughters and the life of young ones. There are mothers in France who are waiting for the girls to come back for the past 30, 40 years. There are children in North African countries, the parents waiting for the girls to knock on the door one day. There are people in Spain who are waiting for missing children. There is a mother in England waiting for a 5-year-old daughter to appear for past years, and she's been accused of killing her own children or her own daughter. Look too far. All these bodies, I found 4 of them some years ago in Brussels, in the garages and in the basements. They all are and sit within the palaces of Belgian monarchy. Not necessarily in Brussels. In the mountains where the king came to see me. We have released a picture of the king and the queen of Belgium last year, where by accident the king happened to be where I was writing my 4th book, in a little shop, in a little cafe in the mountains. Coincidence don't happen. The same as when we released the knowledge and we showed the first space reactors on the 3rd of December. The following day, the American drone was captured, and on the same date, on his anniversary, on the 3rd of the following December, second American spy plane was captured. World governments are aware that this technology is correct. World governments are aware that will bring the change. The change has to come without pressure. The change has to come through and amongst the people, amongst the scientists, and be shared by the world population. This is not a talk, this is not a rhetoric, because for this reason now we have scientists sitting around this table from Japan, from Czechoslovakia, from Spain, from Russia, Afghanistan with American citizenship, from French Belgium, from Slovenia. And we have a doctor who's not with us today, and as you said last week, he'll join us again. So the team of knowledge seekers will dispose of all the information and filter all the information to you on a weekly and daily basis from now on. All the talks on the table are recorded, that in the future they can use for teaching. I do not make this workshop or presentation of scientific work with other reason. Because with me around this table are people who have seen documents. And they have done their own version and translated it into their languages, which we posted across the internet by close of business today. We have released signed research papers by these institutes. It's not an allegation. I have a dear friend of mine, Dirk, on the side. He can confirm to you, if he wants, I will allow the floor to him to explain what we've been told by the politicians, French politicians, that they are aware of the criminality of Mr. Hans Brackenier. Then you understand this is not an allegation. The gentleman who is a member of the parliament of Belgian government, when it disclosed that the 2 girls found by the true case were killed sexually, he's been removed from the parliament because, unknown to a lot of people, the fingerprint of the life of the King of Belgium is within the body of these girls when they were found. This would have disclosed that the king had to do something with their death through sexual abuse. Hunger, as the second document, was fraudulent. And when this scientist, this member of parliament of Belgium, had the documents and he was about to release, he's been put all sorts of pressure. He's been removed from the parliament not to disclose one thing: the fingerprint of the King of Belgium in the body of the 2 dead bodies. This king is not a king, is a criminal in the clothes of a king. I am standing, I know what I stand for. We've been told there is a plan, a 3rd plan for my assassination. My security people, they call it the red alert. I had a full brief in the past days. So I asked the people who protect and are with the foundation to join us to protect us. Not for my life. I have no fear. I've been through 3 assassination attempts by the Belgian police, Mr. Delanois, organized personally. It's a very simple. You think it might be an accusation. There is a file within the court of Belgium Dirk can tell you the gentleman who made the threat against us is the same gentleman who was involved in another assassination and killing of a Russian woman, and is the same gentleman who made the threat about other scientists who was in Iraq. As I told you, he's dying of cancer. I don't know if he's dead yet. Dirk can tell us. This officer has carried out all the intimidation and terrorist activities against the scientists who do not give way to Mr. Hans Brackenier. We reported to police for the threat we received. And in any criminal law, you can go to the courts of Belgium in Kortrijk and open the file. When you make a claim to the police that there is an attempt or a threat against your life, the investigation directly goes to the man who you are accused of. Strange enough, the Federal Police of Belgium took a year and a half before interviewing him. They interviewed every dog in Belgium, but not the guy, because he already has a pedophile record in the Far East, having 10 and 12-year-old boys on his lap. So they use criminals and they approach simple scientists for their own benefit. So in fact, a bunch of pedophiles have taken over the world of science in Belgium, and now we all become terrorists because they do not get what they want. I repeat again, I request and I demand from His Excellency President Obama, you have 2 daughters. You understand what it means. There are mothers and fathers waiting for their children to come back home, which are buried within the palace of the Belgian kingdom. Put their mind at rest. Because your children can be victim of this man and his allies very soon. European Space Agency, then NASA. How many more scientists do we have to lose? How many people do we have to put on exiles to satisfy the sexual hunger? A man who calls himself a king and the entourage who use this weakness to achieve what they want. We should not be imprisoned by these people. The technology is so beautiful like this should be at the free and at the reach of every man. This technology, when we said it will create water and energy, will create the materials to stop all the needs of man, is now in the hand of scientists around this table and around the world. You will read the company Werhart in an email which we have released today, a copy of, I go to it that I'm exactly quoting the right thing, that I'm not out of line. In their email, dated, the date of the email is 30th of May 2005. After they investigated the design with me, we have even for the first time today have released the finger blueprint of the whole system set up by the leading space organization called Werhart in Belgium, who investigated the design and the credibility of this technology, which this design to support our work was on the key which was given to the world governments last year. So now you see part of the blueprint of a full system in the report which is getting released. In the email of 30th of May 2005 at 15:21, sent by the managing directors of the Werhart. Werhart is a leading, they produce and they have hand in most of the satellites for the European Space Agency. Here I read the last line, you can read the rest on the internet. The budget currently estimated is apparently between 300 to 500,000. So it says Werhart is willing to invest his part of development of first prototype of the reactor in bracket for energy production with the following conditions: and the conditions is IWT, Mr. Hamza, another part of, because Berhard, he is a lawyer, and scientific partner like Vito, which is again Mr. Hans Brackenier, collaborate. So you see, and you can understand that if an organization like Berhard, after working for 3 months, is studying every aspect of the technology after report by Professor Van Overmeer of the University of Brussels, is prepared to spend 10 years or up to $500,000 of their own money. This means the technology for power production has been correct for past 10 years. So now the reality is we are not hiding anymore. If you are happy for us to open our technology that you see how it can be used for Fukushima, the way you are expecting us and we are working to give you the power generator, now you have to expect the same, and we expect the same from you, to support us, to allow to keep this technology open to worldwide population, with literally cutting the hand of these thieves on the name of monarchy, head of scientific organizations, which has started nesting in Belgium. You call them Illuminatis, you call them Rothschilds, you call them Masons. We invite you for collaboration. Doesn't matter what flag you carry. And I'm sure most of you in these positions of Rothschild family, Illuminatis, what you call Masons, whatever, you're all fathers and you are responsible people in the society. I'm sure you do not like to lose your daughters to the pleasures of a mischievous, what so-called king. Join us as a team. We have not released this technology to destabilize the world. We have released the technology to stabilize the world, but through unity. World security should not be touched, but world armies to cause death has to stop. The technology has to be used for advance of man and not for gagging and killing the scientists who try to develop it. Now it's not in my hand anymore. Now there are 8 scientists from around the world around this table. At the moment 7. We'll have 1 more 6. I consider myself maybe as a scientist. And we are releasing the technology. I am not a terrorist, but I'm a scientist who's been terrorized by people like this. So we made our statement clear. The knowledge seekers have released the detail and will release the details across the internet. There is no way this is going to be stopped. We have an Arabic translator. My message to you, to the Islamic world, to the Arab world is very simple. You have lost children to the King of Belgium and you returned 2 girls back to Africa, to North Africa, because they were abused by the king. How many more have we lost? Arab, Chinese, English, European, they have no mercy with this and the people around him. When the king finishes with a child, the leftover as the crumbs are handed to these people like Mr. Hans Brackenier for their pleasure. Now you understand the structure. How they have to keep the secret and each other in power. One crime feeds the other. I am prepared to stand in the court of Den Haag or any court if I'm not assassinated within the next 7 days by organization which is set up by Mr. Delanois, Federal Police of Belgium, a criminal, the way he organizes things, to stand my judgment if I'm wrong. And I ask for the fathers and the mothers who have lost their children and they could not speak up to now. Diplomatic immunity cannot breach the boundary of killing children. There is no immunity for murder of children. Girls for sexual abuse, by a king and his entourage. Go to the palace and ask for your children. Put it on the table to French government. Open over 50 cases of abuse against the king. This is in the public press. It's not something we announce in hidden or secret. Go on the Belgian press and you find out the king abdicated when it came apparent, or the girl in England the mother of the girl was claiming she wants a blood test to prove that her daughter is the blood of the king. He preferred to abdicate than to give the blood to be tested, because that would have opened a flood of criminal cases against him, which is sitting in courts and is claiming immunity. Because the immunity was, as long as I don't give a blood or any samples, it's not me. I haven't done a crime. We asked for that blood test, and let's see what happens. This is our statement. Please read the document released by the knowledge seekers of the foundation and post it at every place you can, and accompany it with this presentation. It is very clear. We demand, as the world population, investigation directly into the behavior of the king, the ex-king of Belgium, Albert II, Mr. Hans Brackenier, the director, and now sitting as one of the 5 directors of the European Space Agency, and the police force assassination team, Mr. Delanois of the Kortrijk Federal Police Section. He's a trainer for other police officers how to kill. And he trains on a weekly basis in Brussels other police officers how to assassinate. And he's very proud of it. And I tell you this because he told me, but at that time when he told me, I couldn't understand how I'm receiving a threat. And if I'm wrong, please go back to documents of the courts in Belgium where a Russian girl was assassinated was shot dead and the house was burned down. And the officers who were investigating that murder, because it was done by the same guy as who made the threat against my life, they informed me of the misconduct and the criminal activities of Mr. Delanois. They could not understand how such a criminal officer is involved. They were shocked. So, there's nobody in the Belgian police. Belgian police is not a criminal organization. But these people use the cover name of the king to discredit, and they use the police force built in to carry on the assassination and the pressurizing of the scientists. IMAC is well known for pressurizing scientists out of Belgium. Nobody knew how. Very simple. Internal lawyers of all these firms, IMAC, Whittle, Werhard, IWT. Even there is allegations in the newspapers of Belgium in 2003 and 2004 that Mr. Hans Brackenier has a conflict of interest, which is a criminality. And we were told by the First Minister of the Flemish cabinet, he was kicked out because of criminal activities. But he has a protection of the king, never comes out. We were told by our lawyers that Mr. Hans Brackenier has a criminal record from the university time. He's a well-bred criminal on the content of the lawyer and now the head of European Space Agency. I demand for his arrest, and if you're correct, you should do the same before we lose more scientists. I thank you for listening to this, and I hope it reaches where it has to.